So, it has been nearly 2 years since we changed our lives and moved to Portugal. I think it's time for us to reflect.
It's been 2 years since nearly 2 years, and time flies, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Time really does fly. It doesn't feel like that long. Interesting, as we said, it's time for maybe a little bit of a reflection, I think.
Yeah.
There have been some enormous positives that we've taken from our time here so far, and we'd like to talk about those. I think also, because we've changed our life, there've been a lot of things that maybe we can work on a little bit more as we move forward.
Things that you don't always get those things right first time, do you?
No, you don't. You don't always get them right first time. So I think there's a few things there that we can talk about. And I also think there's been a few things that have surprised us as well, maybe, perhaps. Do you think?
Yeah, maybe a few,
Yeah.
And also the things we miss
from
home. Well, home where we used to live. And it's okay to miss things. I see a lot of people on Facebook groups and they say, oh, I miss this food from home, or I miss this, can I buy this? Everyone jumps on them, and it's okay to miss stuff.
Yeah.
Because you think about all the Portuguese immigrants that go across the world. I bet they miss Portuguese cuisine.
Yeah.
Wherever they go. I was with some Brazilians at the show a couple of weeks ago. They really miss good steak.
Yeah.
The Brazilian steaks, they say, is the best in the world. So we're going to talk about some of the things we miss, and it's okay to do that.
Indeed. Okay, so I think the first thing I'd like to talk about as a positive is the people, or other people, I should say. And when I say the people, obviously the first thing you think of are the Portuguese, the locals, and so on and so forth. And that is a massive positive because I can honestly say, without exception, every experience that I've had, I think that we've both had, have been very, very good.
Oh, the people in Mortágua, honestly, they are lovely.
Yeah.
I can only speak for what we find ourselves, but I haven't met anyone that hasn't helped us.
No.
Been welcoming.
Yep.
Honestly, it's just been joyful. And what I like the most is walking through town and people say good morning and good afternoon, and then that's just normal. It kind of reminds me of old England. Yeah,
and I think, even when you're in the supermarket and stuff like that, and you'll see some of the locals, like we see Louis from the vets and stuff like that, and you see him buying his biscuits or whatever it is he's after, and I don't know, it's just got that...
Biscuits?
Well, I don't know. Probably not biscuits. Maybe it's dog biscuits, I don't know. But he's... I don't know what he was buying when I saw him, but you know what I mean. My point is, it's got it is a small town and it has the small town feel, but as a foreigner coming in as an estrangeiro, then you could be intimidated by that. But we've personally not experienced that, and I think it's been great. And I think the other side of it as well is not just Portuguese people, but locally there is an estrangeiro community here, which is, I'd say, largely English-British, but there is a mix, isn't there? There's a few different...
And Germans. And actually, I was surprised because in our naivety, and we'll admit this, I'm not sure if we've admitted it before.
Well, you can admit it. I'm not sure I am going to admit it.
We thought we were going to be the only English people here. When we bought the house, we didn't think there was that many immigrants and estrangeiros.
No.
And I think we've been really shocked by actually how many there are in our local community. But you're absolutely right. So many people have reached out to us. We've made more friends here than I think we've ever made.
I think
in any town that we've lived in.
You instantly have one thing in common, is that you are an alien here, and so I think that automatically brings you together. And so we have, honestly, so many people that we've met.
And people reach out to you, like people have their established friend groups, don't they? Sort of back like where you grow up and where you come from.
Yeah.
And here people don't have their established, or they do have their established friend groups, but they're very open to getting to know new people. And I had someone reach out only, I think, 2 weeks ago, a lady that I just know through Facebook, and she reached out to me and said, do you fancy going to have lunch? And that's something I would never have had the guts to do that. So that's a really good example. And so many people have helped us with information about where to get things, or, you know, if you've had a problem at the doctor's, people, you know, give their experiences, they help you. They've just been amazing. And I think it's made us settle quite quickly, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it has.
So I think for us, there's been some really, really good positives, hasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely,
for
100%.
sure, in terms of people.
Yep, every single one. Yeah.
So another positive is the goddamn beauty of this place. It never gets boring. We were laughing the other day because we went to, you know, Lidl, just normal drive, and the actual journey to our local Lidl,
oh yeah,
it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I haven't got to that point yet where I'm taking those things for granted.
No,
you know?
but it's going to be, I think it will be easy to start taking it for granted, but I think it's going to take us a very long time. And I always think there are going to be some surprises, which always, because you can see the same things, but then in the different seasons, they all look different as well.
Yeah, they do.
And it is, like you say, you can go to your local Lidl, and what I think one of the things with the beauty as well is we purposely choose to go to different locations, different Lidls, for example, just so we can have a different experience driving there, because they're all a similar distance, and we can go over that mountain or through that valley or by that river. And it is without a doubt the beauty of the place.
Yeah, or if you go to Coimbra for a medical appointment, because sometimes we have to go over that way for medical stuff.
Yep.
That drive for us is just stunning.
Yeah, no,
you know, even when you take the motorway route, it's still pretty scenic, isn't it? You go through places like Penacova, and there's always water everywhere. Yeah. So I think that daily beauty for us, we haven't tired of it yet.
No, definitely not. Another thing that I think has been a real positive for us, and it's really helped us, body and soul, is our morning dog walks.
Yeah.
Great for the dogs as well. We go out with our dogs, and we've always maintained that if we have dogs, we go out every single day, rain, shine, snow, whatever it is. The dogs go out. They have their 1 hour or thereabouts every morning, at least once a day, every morning. And what's been amazing here is we've taken them out in all kinds of weather, and I think it's
in the forest.
Oh, in the forest, and it's beautiful every day. The dogs love it. They get to go off lead. They get to run around.
It's not beautiful every day.
It's not beautiful
Sometimes
every day.
Sometimes it's bloody awful when
Sometimes when the
raining.
rain is coming down and you've got to climb around puddles and things like that. Yes, I get that.
And the tractors have got up the forest.
But what I mean when I say it's beautiful every day is even on the worst days when it's been absolute, even if it is still tipping it down, you're still going to find the beauty, because there's still some majestic points. Yeah.
But from a fitness perspective, we
amazing.
are so disciplined in doing that. Now, if we'd have been working, we'd have been back in the UK, we wouldn't have done that. And honestly, sometimes I don't want to get out of bed, nor does Gary, but the dogs get us out of bed, and that discipline of doing that walk every day. In the summer we do it earlier, don't we? We sort of like do it at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But we do it every single day, and for us that's been a real positive, because we have lost weight, we're fitter, and actually if one of us can't do that walk in the morning, we're a little sorry, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even when it is sodding with rain.
Miss out on our exercise.
So
no, but it is big positive.
Yeah, big positive for us. I won't tell you what Gary just did. He's doing his usual between takes things. So the last thing there's loads of positives, but these are the key ones for us. The last thing is we have a lot more time for people. We were always rushing, not having quality conversations. You know what it's like. I'm sure some of you now, you're sat in your lives back in your countries and you haven't got time to have a chat with people. You haven't got time to chew the fat for an hour with our gardener over something very minor. And you're just always on the go. And so it's just been nice, even though we are very busy, to have more time, certainly to go to a lot more community events, whether that's the Festa, you know, in our local town or sort of nearby towns. And then there's you with your motorcycle group.
Yeah. And I probably wouldn't have done that, certainly with the way that it's set up, because I have to go to Porto normally, which is terrible. But I have to go to Porto to meet up with my Royal Enfield crew. And that is between an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on which route I take, just to get there alone. So that's another 2 hours on the bike.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And then I get there, I meet up with everyone, and we go off and we have rides and stuff like that. And I've done that. I've only done one bit.
And a long lunch on those rides?
That's what I'm saying. Last time we went out and we went to, I mean, there were 45 of us, I think, 47 of us, something like that. And we go out to a restaurant and we all sit down and we have lunch. We have a good chat. We go to some beautiful locations. And I mean, that is, if I was in the UK, there would have been, I could have done it, of course I could, but there would have been more reasons not to do it than there are to do it. And
here, there would have been pressure.
That's the difference here. We've given ourselves permission and time to do these things, and I think that's important.
It's like the ladies' lunch that I went to. A friend organises a lunch for ladies.
I couldn't go to that, could I?
No. And they discuss different subjects, and we were talking about feminism, for example, last week. I would never have done that in the UK. I would never have made the time for that.
No.
So that's been really nice. Also, I think it's getting that better sort of work-life balance and making time. Yeah,
and I think we're just bedding in still with this stuff, and I think we'll be doing more and more of that as we move forward.
As we integrate as well, I think you find out about more stuff. But definitely those have been great positives for us.
So I think one of the things that is quite important for us in terms of improving as we move forward has been learning Portuguese.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind how long we've been here as well, and we've sort of dipped in and we've dipped out of it.
Yeah.
We've probably not been as consistent as we would really like to have been.
I think it's just structure, isn't it? And discipline.
It is. I think that's the thing. Is, you know, if you're on a course, then you turn up every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and we're not. We're learning ourselves at our own pace, and so that means it's an easy thing to maybe put down and let go of. So I think personally that has been, well, not personally, I think for both of us, learning Portuguese has been a difficult one that we need to work a little bit harder at.
Yeah, I think as well, it's sometimes you prioritise other things. For the first 6 months, we were kind of having fun when we got here.
On holiday.
And then we realised that we really needed to start, you know, sorting out our business things that we needed to do. And I think it's a bit like fitness and working out. It's like having the discipline and the time to actually do it, and doing it every week at the same time or every other day at the same time. So we have got to get jiggy on with that, haven't we?
Yes, we have indeed,
We're doing all right, but we could do a lot better. We're not terrible. So, second thing I think that we've reflected on that we need to get better at is, you know, we did change our lives. We lowered our costs. We came to Portugal for the reason of lowering our costs, and living more frugally was a really big focus of ours. And I think we have elements of that where we do it really well. And then there are still some old life habits.
Die hard
that
habits.
are a little bit, you know, harder to get rid of. Whether that's, you know, buying something on impulse, or kind of thinking, do we really need it? Do we need it? Do we want it? Maybe spending too much money sometimes on certain things, or not worrying as much as we should about money. And that's sometimes a habit from your old life, in that you've got a salary coming in every month, So, you know, it doesn't matter. You can buy that thing.
Yeah.
But when you're
Comes
in
in
a
and goes
kind
out.
of, you know, more budgeted situation that we're in, I think that's something we've definitely got to manage a bit more.
And I think we've both been guilty of it. We've both got old habits. And when I say old habits, I don't mean anything really bad. It's not like I went out and bought a new car or anything like that.
No.
But it's...
Maybe a piece of tech.
Yeah, maybe, exactly. So for me, it's probably tech. For you, it's probably house things more than anything.
Yes.
Yeah, it's.
I'm a little extravagant.
Yeah, and so those, you know, you look at stuff, you like it, and the old Shelley and the old Gary would just be like, press the button and off you go.
We'll
but now we do, and we need to be better at that as well. We are better than we were, but we need to be better at that.
Budgeting, I think, is the thing is we do set a budget every month.
Yep.
We just don't stick to it.
Well, we do. When the money, it's just the money runs out before the month runs out. That's the problem.
It still runs out. It used to happen at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do need to get a little bit more disciplined with our budget.
We do.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing we're going to work on this year.
So another thing is around managing our time. I'm going to say that bit first. There's two parts to this. And the reason I say that is we changed our lives. So we've moved from kind of almost a structured day where you get up, you walk the dogs, you go to work, you come home, you have your dinner, you watch TV, you go, but whatever it is. And we've moved to this kind of thing where we are kind of in charge of our own time.
Yeah.
And that is an adjustment for anyone, let alone if you move abroad and you've got to adapt to maybe some of the time frame of the Portuguese culture as well. So I think we need to do better with managing our time. We've recognised that. We need to be a bit more disciplined. And I think, you know, we've made some moves on that recently in terms of, you know, walking the dogs, for example, is we will get up at a set time to make sure that is done by a certain time so we can start our day by a certain time. Otherwise, the day can just run away.
We weren't getting up early enough. We were kind of drifting into that, you know, kind of cup of tea. And,
like you're on holiday.
Like you're on holiday. And actually we weren't getting, you know, our day wasn't starting till 11:30.
No.
And that's just no good. By the time we took the dogs out, we just don't have enough hours, especially when we've got jobs on. So,
and I think the other side of it as well is that I mentioned is the learning to say no to people, which is really important. And it's an easy trap to fall into. So let's give an example. We've moved here. People think that we have retired here. We're way too young for that. I mean, look. So we are not retired, but people think that we have moved here and retired.
People are retired.
Yeah, they are. They are retired.
Yeah.
So that means that they think that, you know, when they invite you to lunch on a Wednesday afternoon, and when I say a lunch, I'm not talking like, oh, we'll just go and get a quick bite. We're talking like 2-3 hour lunch here. Then, you know, you almost feel obliged to say yes, but we've had to learn and start learning to say no because we do have to work. We do have to do lots of different things. And to manage your time effectively, that's part of it. You've got to learn to say no. I don't know if there's anything else you can add to that on that front.
No, I'm just sticking to it. And I think that's probably a struggle that a lot of people have in our situation where they still need to work and they're not retired. So I think it's probably quite common, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking our own advice on stress management, I think we've talked about in our videos a lot about some of the things that you're going to find really frustrating in Portugal, and that is around getting things done and getting things done in a timely manner. And we've been very good at telling you that those things are going to happen, that they are frustrating, and you've got to accept it and get used to it. But we don't always walk the walk on that, do we?
No.
So if we take, it is frustrating getting things done, and there are times, there are times when it really, really gets to you. I mean, let's talk about our example over the last few weeks.
We've got this new bit of land, and we've got a wall that's fallen down, and we've bought this other bit of land, and we've got to build build a wall and put a fence around this bit of land.
Rebuild a wall.
Yeah, rebuild a wall and enclose it so that our dogs can run free on this new bit of land. You know, it's not massive, but it's big enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's next to a road, and so this...
A road being a tiny little village
we're talking
road.
about
We're not
like
talking a main
2
road.
cars a day here.
Yeah.
But so it's an insignificant road, but it is still a road.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we have to go to the, well, we thought we had to go to the camera, so we go to the camera, and they say, no, you have to go to your local junta, which is our parish
And
council.
sorry, that is going to the camera to find out where can we build the wall.
Yeah,
How far in from the road do we need to be?
This is
and
just for information.
How high can we build? How high can the wall be?
Yeah.
Simple thing.
So you then get passed on to your local parish council, the Junta de Freguesia, and then you speak to them, and then they say
In Portuguese.
Yeah, in Portuguese, and then they turn around and say, no, you need to go back to the camera, to the fiscal, and get the people that make the decisions to do it, and that is, it can be stressful, and one of the reasons why that can be stressful is you think that something like that might take a day or two to get sorted. But that whole process, because you can't just go up to the Freguesia, the junta, and speak to them whenever, they've only got set times. And even when you speak to them, then they say, no, we'll speak to you when we come to your village. And that's once a month that they come to your village. So then you get a little bit frustrated because something that really you should have sorted inside a couple of hours can end up taking a couple of months. So that's stress.
And this is taking a couple of months.
Yeah, this has,
And even just things like we're waiting for cement, you know, to be delivered from the local kind of hardware store. That's now running into week 4 of waiting for the cement because I don't know, they just can't bother to deliver it. So, you know, we are having to kind of walk our own walk on this particular sort of stuff.
We said these are the things that some of the things you would expect, but you have to manage how you feel about it, and that's the point here, isn't it?
Hard, right?
It's hard. Some days it is.
You were ready to chuck the towel in last week.
Oh no, I could have easily. I could have gone anywhere but here last week.
And it was raining. So to the person that says it's always beautiful where you are in Portugal, it's been raining all week. So then, of course, you've got all these things that are really irritating on top of loads of rain. So
it's accepting its life.
We need to learn that. Bit more zen.
Bit more zen, yeah.
So one of the things is that we can actually live in a bubble. And in fact, since we've been here, I would say for quite a lot of the time, we are living in a bit of a bubble. And what I mean by that is that, you know, we used to go to work, so you'd have the radio on in the car, you'd hear all the latest drama that was going on in the government and all the news, and then you come home and the news would be on the background, and people at work would be talking about how miserable the UK is because whatever the government's done now. And actually now we can live in a bubble, and we kind of love it because we're very shielded from stuff that's going on in the world. And someone said to me the other day, don't you watch the news? And I went, no. Literally, if we're at home, we're working, or we'll have music on in the background, we don't in the car. We've got Portuguese radio stations on in the news, so it's not because we like to listen to the Portuguese, but we don't understand it, so sometimes we don't even know what's going on in Portugal. Now please, I don't want people to think we're being ignorant, because we're not. What we're saying is we can choose to go and read the news when we want to.
We dip in and dip out, and that's the bubble. We're not subjected to it all day, every day.
It is depressing. I mean, you know, like what's going on in the world at the moment, it's really frightening, and actually I quite like being in our bubble.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's a safe place, right?
Yeah, well, it is, but like you say, it's not ignorance. We're just selecting what we subject ourselves to, because you can put
Constantly
yourself, you can put yourself in a really, really bad place. Reading the news, especially the news at the moment, from all over, it's quite depressing. So I think the bubbles.
It is.
The bubbles quite
it's nice, and other people have said the same thing. And it's just choice. You know, you're not surrounded by it, so we kind of like the bubble.
Yeah. So another thing that's surprising, that has been surprising to us, is the cost of some of the things here. So I know we've talked about cost before.
Strange things.
Yeah, there's some
Strange
really
things.
peculiar things. And the example I'm going to give is we had to paint the outside of our house. Some of the rendering needed some painting,
Yeah.
and so we colour matched it. So we took a little bit of the
Like you
plaster
do.
down, and we took it down to the local hardware store and said we'd like to colour match this. Da, da, da. Now, if we did that in the UK, now we bought 15 litres of paint, so we
Yeah.
knew it was going to cost a few quid.
Yeah.
But in the UK, if you get a colour match in the UK and get 15 litres of it, I'd say you're probably talking between 50 and 70 pounds,
Yeah.
roughly.
Roughly, yeah.
So I did this and didn't ask, and that's one thing we need to do more of, is we need to ask the
In
price
fact,
first.
we made a resolution. We
Yeah,
were not going to
we
buy anything
Without
else
knowing the
without knowing
cost.
the price after this.
So I bought this paint, and then they just turned around and just casually said, I think it was 170 euros.
No, it was 188.
188 euros. Shelley remembers.
That is ingrained in my brain.
So it was 188 euros for 15 litres of paint, and I was a little bit gobsmacked.
Yeah. Paint's expensive here.
Yeah.
And then the others, I'll just give you another random example. Lampshades cost so much money here. Like,
Why?
like a basic lampshade in Leroy Merlin, you are looking at like 25 euros. That same lampshade you could have bought in the UK in a lot of different stores for like £4.99. So there are just very odd things that cost more money, like a spade. Like some of the gardening tools are really expensive.
Yeah.
So that surprised us because whilst we knew there'd be price differences,
some of them are
it's odd
such
things,
a disparity.
Isn't it? And
Yeah,
food.
things. Yeah, some things.
Odd things on
yeah.
food as well, which we covered in our cost of living, which we'll link up there. But sometimes things are just surprisingly more expensive here, and we've had to get used to that. We're not buying any more paint.
No more paint. It can all rot.
Yeah. So, other things that surprised us, the weather. Yeah, because when we were...
Great to talk about it today, yeah.
Well, I know, but it's bloody freezing, by the way, today, so I'm quite cold filming, I have to tell you.
Shirt, T-shirt and a jacket, yeah, so come on, it's not
We're
that
Portuguese,
warm.
we've assimilated, it's cold to us. But, you know, when we bought the house 3 years ago, initially we were coming out for, well, I wouldn't like to call them a holiday, it was quite hard work.
No, it was maintenance, wasn't it,
We were coming out
and
for
stuff,
maintenance
yeah,
and holidays and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And really, I don't know if we just hit lucky, but the weather always seemed to be really nice.
I think when I came,
compared to the
I think it rained, but I was here for 5 days.
Yeah.
You don't notice it then.
You don't notice it.
No.
So we've been a little surprised by how much rain we've had. Now, this year we haven't had that much rain.
No, it's been better.
Last
so far.
year we had biblical 40 days and 40 nights. It did not stop raining. This year, less rain, but my God, it's been cold.
Yeah.
Proper winter cold, or we have got no tolerance for cold. I'm not sure which one it is.
I think it's a mixture.
It has surprised us.
Yeah.
We're not in the Algarve. We knew that it was going to get more rainy here.
Yeah.
But I don't think
It's a bit more seasonal than perhaps we thought. Put it this way, I need to re-waterproof my jacket because I need to use it a lot.
Yeah, and you know, I was saying to Gary the other day, winters felt quite long, and he said, "Don't be ridiculous. Like it's been
two
a
months
small
here."
moment in time." But in my head,
Yeah.
that's actually felt quite a long period.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to spring the same way as I'm sure all of our friends are.
And
in the
I
UK.
think it's important to point out this is not a negative, but it's just surprised us
It's
that
not a
it's been
negative.
it's surprised us that there has been that much rain
Yeah.
and that it gets as cold as it gets for the period.
And we said that before. The reason why this region's so beautiful and green and lush is because it gets lots of rain.
Yeah.
But some days you've had enough of it, haven't you?
Yeah.
For sure.
Totally. Okay, so another thing that surprised us has been the healthcare. And this has surprised us.
We didn't know really what
No, we
to
didn't know. You read a lot
expect.
about it, but it
You read
surprised
a lot
us
of negative
in a
stuff.
very good way. And I'll give you very quickly a few examples. is you've got your National Health Service here, which you need to be a resident to obviously get the benefit of that. I'll talk about that in a sec. But there's also the private healthcare side of things, which is relatively well priced compared to many other places around the planet.
Yeah.
And you can get a combo of the two, so it's been very good. So you can make it as efficient as you want it to be.
Yeah.
I think really one of the things that surprised me was I have to take medication because I had my thyroid removed, so I have to take medication for that. In the UK, for love nor money, I cannot get hold of my drugs. I had to go to the doctors, and I had to get down on my knees and beg for them to do my prescription. Here, I can walk into.
That was just nuts. That.
Yeah,
that
I know, it's
whole
crazy.
scenario.
Considering I need it so that I don't die, which is quite important.
Yeah, but it was like every time you needed a repeat prescription, it was a big
Oh yeah,
fight.
it was a big old kerfuffle.
No sense behind it.
Here, I've just shown them an old prescription that I got from the UK, and they're cool with that. And they're like, we understand you need it. You make the decision. It's your health. You can buy it pretty much over the counter.
Yeah.
Well, it is. It's over the counter. You buy it, and
Same
the
with
cost of it,
HRT.
I was getting like a month's worth for about €16, which in the UK, it's probably.
Well, you would have got it free in the UK.
I would have got it free in the UK because it's chronic.
But a prescription would have cost you.
But the point is, a prescription would cost you normally. But the point is, I can walk in over the counter and get that and just pay that small amount for it. Yeah.
Price,
And I think as well, there's the National Health Service. So I'm now transitioning over to the Portuguese National Health Service, and that has been. I know other people have had bad experiences doing this, but for me it's been pretty much a breeze. I've now got a family doctor at my local surgery. I've got appointments booked so that I can be reviewed, so that they can look after me moving forward, which is not a lot that's needed, but it needs to be monitored.
Yeah.
And it's been an absolute breeze. But you've also had some good experiences, haven't you? Yeah.
But the family doctor thing, that not everybody gets a family doctor, and it is an issue in Portugal. I think our local surgery have now seemed to be allocating family doctors, so hopefully things are getting back on an even sort of keel. But yeah, what I like about it is I had to go and see a doctor. I needed to have a scan. And the doctor was able to give me a prescription for the scan, and I was able to go to a private healthcare provider and use that voucher to get the scan, and that happened all within 2-3 days.
Oh yeah, it's all very efficient.
And blood tests, because blood tests you also go privately, and I've had blood tests I've done blood tests that I've paid for myself just to check health things, reasonable cost, but also the doctors, they send you to the private blood clinics to get your bloods done. So you can literally go down there the next day and go and get your bloods done. So they tend to use a mix of NHS and private. And if I'd have been waiting for that scan in the UK, I would have been waiting weeks for that letter to come through. And then it would have been at a time which would probably be really inconvenient.
Just on that point about those blood tests, and this is really critical and this probably applies to the UK more than anywhere else, is if you have blood tests done in the UK through the health service, then if you're lucky, you'll get those results. Or your worst case scenario is you have to ask your GP for those results. Here, quite often I've had a blood test in the morning and I've got the results emailed to me by the end of that day. By the end of that day, I've got those emailed to me, and that is an efficient service. So.
And there's no bloody we can't tell you anything. So another example, I had to get this scan that I had to go and have. I said to the radiologist who was doing the scan, I think that's the right name.
Yep.
I said, "Oh, can you see anything?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah. You've got muto, whatever it is I've got." But he was quite happy to share with me there and then. There's no kind of, "Oh, how did that go? I've got to wait 3 weeks to find out if I've got gallstones or whatever."
Yeah.
And so that kind of thing is much more efficient. And worst case scenario, if one of us needed to go private for something, we've got a small discount insurance. It's like an insurance with just gives you a discount. We can go and get scans or consultants appointments at very reasonable prices, and we're quite happy to pay for those if we need to. So I think it's a really good, so far, a really good balance.
Good. Yep.
So things we miss.
There's a few things.
Do you know, okay, disclaimer, we don't want this to sound like, what is it, first world problems.
Yeah.
Okay, but as we said at the beginning, it is okay to miss things from your home country. I'm going to say now, the things that I really miss, clothes shopping is difficult here because of the smaller sizes, but I think more so buying shoes, which I've also had other friends say, buying shoes is quite the challenge here. If you've got a larger size foot, which I have, then it's quite difficult to buy clothes here. And then the other thing, I went back to the UK a couple of weeks ago. I really miss UK supermarkets. I really miss them. It's just the variety, the choice, the types of food, the things, and there's clothes there and there's shoes in the big hypermarkets, and I'm going to put it out there. I really miss.
It's what you're used to, isn't it?
Tesco's.
And you missed that. You missed Tesco's.
Well, yeah, it was a Tesco's I went to in Manchester, and I just was like, I was like in heaven going up and down the aisles, because you don't get the same choice here, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just when you go back and you see all the choice and all the ready meals and everything else, I miss it. I'm proud to say that.
Well, I'm going to be honest. There's only one thing that I miss. There is two, but one mainly. One, you can't go out for a nice Indian curry here. There's no Indian places.
Not that we've found yet.
Not that we've found yet. There are places,
isn't.
but they do exist, but they're not. Just haven't found it yet, and they're not as readily available as UK. But the number one thing, what I really miss is.
I know what you're going to say.
Is fish and chips.
Fish and chips, yes.
I love my fish and chips, and we never used to have it every week, but it was a nice treat to have. And whilst they have a lot of cod here in Portugal, it don't cut the same way as our UK cod in batter.
Now, interestingly on that, our Brazilian friends who came over to Manchester for the show, they actually tried fish and chips, right? And I thought they're going to take to fish and chips like a duck to water because they love cod, and they're going to really like it. They weren't that keen. No, they didn't like the cod.
Probably they meant a greased oil on it.
Yeah, they didn't like the cod in the batter, which was interesting because I thought Portuguese would absolutely love fish and chips because it's cod and everyone loves chips, right? No, they weren't that keen, but I'm with you on that. I really miss fish and chips. It. Don't think there's anything else.
No, they're the main things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. We would love to know, what do you miss, or what would you miss if you moved abroad? Doesn't have to be Portugal. But what would you miss? What's the thing? Let us know in the comments. It'd be interesting to see what is the most important thing to people, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Not fish and chips.
Fish and chips, yeah. But that's it. As always, please comment, like, subscribe. We would love to have your support on this journey. That just about wraps it up for this week, doesn't it? I think it's about time we had a little bit of cake, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I knew she was going to go for the jam donut. I knew that I would miss out on that.
Ta-ra for now.
Ta-ra.